All right, ready?
Yeah, I'm waiting on you.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome back to our next episode of Not for Sunday Mornings.
Even though it is Sunday morning.
That's true. It is Sunday morning. We're doing early recording because Steve's busy this week with a trip with the church and the church students.
High school, yep.
It'll be a lot of fun. But anyways, my name's Chris and this is Steve. And we are working through our sermon series of questions kids ask.
Yeah, yep.
And so this week the question was,
What's heaven like?
What's heaven like?
You think anybody notices that?
I don't know. No, maybe when you pointed out, I noticed you were changing it. So
yeah. And the toys, we got a lot of stuff on the shelf.
We were trying to put some more stuff. Make it look like a professional.
Yeah.
Podcast. Our new studio
our new studio
look maybe.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, all right. Well, so let's start. Like, what are some things? Did anyone talk to you after church about your message and everything?
Actually, honestly, I had a couple people, one in particular who came up and said their whole life, they're probably in their 60s, grew up in the church, and heaven was always out there and never a restoring of the earth, and what that means and the implications of that. And she hadn't just heard it here, she'd heard it at other churches as well. And so it was neat to hear her wrestle with that and kind of the implications of that, and it was very cool. And so I grew up similar, like heaven was always out there, something you go to, versus it being, potentially here now and in the middle of now and different, and so some fun stuff. So that was fun. That was a fun conversation.
So just curiosity, like, why do you think that that's the case? Like, why do you think, what's made the shift in the viewpoint on that?
I think further study of the word. I think more. I think further study of the word. I think because when you look at the Bible, doesn't talk about heaven in the way we know it to be about heaven, and we'll get into it a little bit about Plato and 3rd century and how that all kind of got hijacked from that. But so I think probably a little more knowledge. I'm guessing. I don't know. It's not. I don't think it's new revelation. I think it's always been, especially. I think personally, I think we begin to understand, N.T. Wright has a huge influence on this, but begin to understand the Jewish thinking of things. So back then when they're writing, and so the Jewish thought process would not have been the way we think of heaven now. It just wasn't on their thought process. So as they study that and begin to add that, I think that's where kind of some of that goes from.
So, yeah, because I always feel like you and I grew up in the same era, and church life was always, I felt, more difficult. People were more rigid about things growing up. And so
I don't know if more difficult is the right word. I think church is hard now. Everything's like, it's so hard. I mean, everything's...
Well, no, I don't know. If you're right. Maybe difficult was the wrong term. I think rigid in
I would
thoughts.
Think more. Plus, I don't know what it was like to be a pastor then. So I don't know.
I think we were more insular. I think churches were more insular, and I think that kind of like when you're focused in on that. And
I grew up in a church that didn't have a trained pastor per se. I mean, he was a great man and everything, very kind. But as far as like schooling and education, that wasn't really a thing. Yeah. And so I don't know how much that played into what I learned growing up. The more, I think school is a good thing.
That's possible. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting. I think our focus maybe, I liked what you said, like where I think the focus now in terms of looking at the writers and what their culture was and how they were writing
to the best of our ability.
Yeah, to the best of our ability, and trying to understand it through that lens a little bit more. I think instead of being a more literal interpretation of what you're reading as you're reading it, I think I agree with you. I think that's a big change in there.
Know. Yeah.
Is it pronounced? Because I didn't look it up. Kinos?
Yeah, Kinos.
Kinos?
I pronounce it Kinos, but yeah, Kinos. Kinos, yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, because that's interesting, because I don't think we've ever really used that. Have we used that word before?
We did when we did Revelation.
Okay, so years ago. Okay.
A few years ago when we did the series on Revelation. In fact, a portion of this was taken from that sermon on Revelation. So if you go back and listen to Revelation series, you'll hear some segments taken from that, specifically on the new heaven, new earth part, and that word Kinos. And so, that's just what that word means. Again, we hear new, and so it means new, but what does new mean? And new does not mean brand new. Because again, I think, well, what does Paul say? I'm a new creation.
Right.
So am I new? I'm not newly born. I am who I am, but I'm restored. I'm renewed.
I like that the word restored for it is really good. And I think that's important too.
People don't know this, and you probably don't even realize this, but when we were coming up with the vision statement for the church, we exist to make disciples of Christ by loving kids and strengthening families in order to redeem the Lincoln Way community.
Yes.
I wanted the word restore there, and I got voted down.
I don't remember that.
I do.
I was part of that. I don't even remember that conversation.
I'm holding it, but that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Too bad we have like a really expensive sign that we have.
Yeah, it's staying now.
That's going to stay now.
Yeah. That was kind of a funny thing, though. Yeah. Yeah, so it's a cool word. I mean, yeah, it means, I think when we study those words, and it kind of opens up a new way of looking at things, because you could easily think of like, it's all going to burn down and we're going to start over, and versus like, well, let's look at this a little bit differently, a little bit different. So
yeah, no, it does. I think it does.
And the argument, I think, like, did he lose the garden? I think it's a major argument. Like, do you think what happened in the garden is forever? Satan won? Like, I think.
Well, I think
he didn't do it with our hearts, so why would he do it with the garden?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, in that or at least a good way of presenting it is that, why would God abandon something that He called as good, and turn it over to Satan? Like,
start over.
Yeah, the idea of redemption is way better and restoration is way better. And it makes more sense. It makes sense in light of who God is, and because He doesn't give up. Like he's there, and so I think that's really good. So, what stuff did you leave out? Or what do you got?
I didn't spend a lot of time talking about the period after death, before heaven, that like intermediate period. Mm-hmm. I just didn't think it was going to add. I think it could get really confusing and super nerdy. And the problem of a Sunday morning sermon is there's this part of like evangelistic and discipleship. So you want to help people grow more like Christ, obviously, but you also are trying to introduce people to Christ. And so there's this balance of like, I'm not giving a lecture. I'm trying to like.
And that's hard with this series, is because you're answering a question, and so it's hard not to give that lecture. You want to
like create a moment of inspiration, like, okay, because of this is what happens. And so I didn't want to spend, because also the Bible writers don't spend a ton of time on that. I was like, well, we're just going to kind of gloss over that. I hope that didn't jam people up too much. It could have. I also didn't talk about the time. I think in alongside of that, that period, whatever that period is, I think we don't talk about God's time and our time. And so for us, it's like, how long is that time? Well, I honestly think in our minds it's going to be half a second. Like, we're not even know. We're going to be there, and it's going to be, because our time is not God's time. So this whole thing where we're trying to like, well, I'm going to sit in the ground for 40 years, and okay, maybe, but maybe not, because in our mind, like, how that all works. I don't know. It's a whole different dimension. So,
do you have an elevator pitch of what that intermediary stage looks like, or is no?
It says to be in Christ. Well, I don't know what that means. Yeah. With Christ, in Christ. I don't know what that is. I don't know. I have any idea, and I don't think it really matters. I
agree. I know people still are curious and wonder in those things.
I don't know. That really doesn't bother me too much. And then the other thing that was, I didn't spend a lot of time talking about Jesus when he says he talks about the kingdom has come and the kingdom of heaven is here, and John the Baptist, how he began that way, and I probably could have drilled down a little bit more on that, and I didn't talk about that. I think my weakest point of the sermon was, again, we're filming this right afterwards, so
so you're fresh off the stage, like,
so
literally,
a couple of things I think real weak was like that connection at the end where it was like the now what part. Like, I don't know if I made a good enough case to be like, okay, now go and live like kingdom-minded people. I think I kind of shucked and jived there a little bit, and so I wasn't very proud of that. And then honestly, like, this was a tough sermon today because I have not been in a good headspace all day today. I don't know why. I woke up not feeling super well, and then mentally was not, I begged God to help me but mentally it was hard to be there. And so it was a challenge communicating. I always want to bring myself 100% to whatever I do. And when I feel like I'm not, I feel like a phony, and I know I'm not, and I know my heart's, and I know and God uses this stuff, which is insane. But what's going on in my head the whole time was like, man, it wasn't clicking. The message was clicking. I didn't get but just my presence, it just wasn't clicking. So it was I think at one point I even talked about it, like feeling out of your body. Like I did feel.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, I don't remember if it was first or second service you did that. Yeah,
I know I did second. Both. I felt out of my body. I felt like not present, and so that was a little bit weird. So
yeah, I mean, insider baseball, and for you more so than me, because you do almost every Sunday. That it's almost impossible to be on every Sunday. Like you do your best, and like you said, you want to give your whole.
Yeah.
But we're humans, and there's a reality behind that, and so
I mean, I'm pretty much batting 1,000, but people don't know. Well, people don't know.
Yeah,
inside not so much, but outside. No, I'm kidding.
No, but I mean, we do. We there because I know there's times like for me, I think I've written the worst sermon ever written, and I don't feel it, and I don't feel like but I go up there and I try to give it my all because. I know what the meaning behind it is, and it's hard. It's hard to do that sometimes. Like when you're not feeling it, it's there, and you have that way more of a responsibility than I do. Thankfully on my part, but yeah. So, anything else?
That was pretty much it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. How about Can I Push Back?
Boy, you can do whatever you want.
All right. So this our new segment is Can I Push Back? So I've got.
We should have like a theme, like could I push back, like a graphic,
like a little. Pushback. The first one I've got is, does this mean heaven isn't heaven? So, what I mean by that is, are we really just spending eternity on earth? And because I don't think people look out the window and say, this is heaven. I mean, sometimes they do, depending on if you're on a beach in Tahiti or not. But so you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the actual reward in the end? I think some people, if it's just a restoration, you get where I'm coming?
Yeah, and I would say yes, like this. Yes, I would think yes that this is heaven. Like I think we don't have any idea what a restored Eden looks like. We don't have any idea what creation that gives us life. And we don't know what that looks like because it's always been broken. And so I think we think what we see out here is like, well, this is earth and this is not heaven. And it's not. This is broken. But we get glimpses of it. And so there's moments where you will, I know there's been moments where you're out in nature and something grabs your heart, or a sunset or a mountaintop, or there's something, and you just get a half a second. Now imagine that all the time. I mean, I think that's crazy. Now I also think we're gonna have jobs and work, and I think it's gonna be fulfilling and life giving. And I think I think maybe I'm wrong on some of this, and I'm gonna push it a little bit on some of that, but I think our view is so what we look out here and see, and this isn't restored. This is broken, and I can't imagine what restored looks like. I mean, I can't wait. But that's
Yeah. No, I agree. Okay, here's one, because I know sometimes like when you and I preach and we use a Bible verse, people are like, oh, well, what about this Bible verse, right? Mm-hmm. So if God's restoring creation, why does 2 Peter say that the earth is burned up?
Yeah, burned up. That's a great verse. And I wish you would have let me know you were going to go there before. And I would have been much more prepared for that.
I thought we made a promise not to talk about it.
That.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember this process here. So the words that is used there is...
I can
There's
see
a refining process.
Keep going. You're on the right track.
You want to pull it up?
Yeah, I'll see if I can find it.
If you can be ready for it, then be ready for it.
I didn't know I had to be this ready for it.
You asked a question.
I did. So. You're right. I did. That was my fault for asking the question. keep going. Keep rambling. Let's see what you got.
No, I'm trying to look up the verse here. 2 Peter 3, right?
Yeah, I think so. It is burned up.
This makes great radio too.
It does, and this is compelling that we're on our phones looking this up. 2 Peter 3:13.
3:13.
I think that right. So 3:13 is part of it. Yeah, the heavens will be on fire. So starting at we'll just start 3:10. But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. On that day, the heavens will pass away with a loud noise. The elements will burn and be dissolved, and the earth and the works on it will be disclosed. Since all these things are to be destroyed in this way, it's clear what sort of people you should be in holy conduct and godliness, As you wait for and earnestly desire the coming of the day of God, the heavens will be on fire and will be dissolved because of it, and the elements will melt with the heat. But based on his promise, we wait for new heaven and new earth where righteousness will dwell.
Yeah. Yeah. So I again, I go back to the restoration process and like the testing of fire, and what was that in 1 Corinthians where he talks about putting your works before there and it'd be gold or silver and the testing of fire. So I think that's part of that process there. There's also a high eschatological callback to Isaiah here. So he's pulling back from the Old Testament. So I think I can get on the surface how they can look like that's all going to burn up and we're going to start over. I don't see it that way.
I think
it's
it's
a little more
metaphor
prep I could
for
get a little better
purification.
answer.
No, I think it's a metaphor for purification, like you said. Like, and that's what renewal is, right? There's a restoration is it's making it pure, bringing it back to where it should be. You know?
Kind of. So
no, I think it was something that crossed my brain.
No,
Great, Did you have something like that, like when you were initially doing your notes or anything? Or okay,
I briefly looked at it and then skipped over it. So.
I think you, because you gave me an early copy so I could work on this because we knew we were recording early, and you changed a few things, right?
I did.
So in your original copy, you had a statement about the environment. That environmental issues.
I didn't know you were bringing that up.
The environmental issues are theological issues.
Yeah, isn't that fun?
It was. I like it because I totally agree with it, but I know people will push back.
I know.
Against it.
So twofold. I almost said a second service. So environmental issues are theological issues, and I think so twofold for that. First of all, I think both ways. Like, one thing is like, who cares? God's restoring it all, burn it to the ground, right? Who cares? And the other is like, well, we need to partner with him, so we need to save everything, and we have an influence in some of this. And so that balance of where is our role with that? I do think, though, caring for our environment, and it's a good thing, not a bad thing. So that's kind of where I'm at. But I also think it has unfortunately become a political issue where it becomes this money-generating mess and whole thing. And so, I mean, if this is our future home, then why aren't we caring for it? And again, I know that God's going to restore it to what we can't even imagine, but...
Well, I mean, for me, and my viewpoint is...
We got to walk that line because it can become very hippy-dippy where now we're not...
Well, right, we don't want to become attached, right? And that's the thing. Like, I think that's the important thing is, like, even though this place will be restored, that it's difficult because we don't want to be attached to this place because we want to yearn for that restoration. We want to yearn for that new place. I think from my perspective is, it's a stewardship issue.
I think so. Yeah.
I think, when as Christians we're given the responsibility of being good stewards of the gifts that God gives us. And the earth is a gift. It really is. And so, like, to be a good steward of it, I think, I don't know, I can't connect it to, well, we want to do it because it's going to be, because I can say, God's just going to restore everything. It'll be perfect. And who cares if this is a big black lump of coal right before that time happens. But at the same time, like, I think from a Christian standpoint, we have a call to be good stewards of everything that gives us. That did pop out, and it was interesting. I was a little disappointed you left it out of there.
People make fun of me. Looks, I am the world's worst recycler. So.
You are actually, like there's
everything can be recycled.
For those of you who don't know, in the office there's a bin that says recycling on it, and whenever I come in, it's actually the garbage can. There's all sorts of stuff in there. How about this one? This one's just a general question. I don't know, pushback, but does heaven mean work disappears?
No.
Because you focused on relationships, but we didn't really talk about.
Yeah, I think work
things.
is always meant to be life giving. I think where we get in trouble is work has become draining here in this world, and so there's this weird thing where it's like I'm going to work for 40 years and then retire and do nothing for 20 years or 40 years or whatever. I'm like, I don't understand that personally. Again, I'm not at that age, so maybe I'll get it better. But I think work is a holy calling and can be so life giving. Again, when it's in the restorative is when it's restored, as it was. You know, I mean, Adam worked the garden before then, and it was life giving. It wasn't, and then all of a sudden now it became hard. It became what it's not because now the ground fights us, and everything's a battle, and everything's a struggle, and that's not the way it was meant, And so I would say, yes, I hope. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it'll be different. I mean, what's Adam's first job is to name every animal, right? I mean, so I mean, obviously there's a purpose behind that too, but yeah, it's. I think work will be work. It'll just be different.
Yeah, I think so.
It'll be different.
Yeah.
So, I forget what our next part was.
Oh, digging deeper. So a couple of things I wanted to pull out.
Okay.
So I heard this great from a dear friend after service. A great another pastor had said this. He said that out of love, God kicked Adam and Eve out of the garden because they would live forever there, and that would have been a punishment because they would be forever apart from God. And so by kicking them out, it's actually an act of mercy so that they would die and then begin this process of God returning, which I thought was kind of a neat thought. And then the whole Plato thought of like, Plato taught that the physical world is inferior, the prison for the soul, and that true reality exists in the spiritual, non-physical realm. And according to this research I did, around the 3rd century, Christian theologians began bleeding the gospel with these ideas. And so because of this, many Christians mistakenly view salvation as escaping the physical body to live in this disembodied, timeless entity. And it's more Platonic than it is scriptural. That the biblical worldview of heaven and earth are not two completely separate realms. Heaven is simply God's space and earth is humanity's space. And God's design is for the two to overlap and intersect. And so you see that like in the temple. And then even in the whole thing I didn't talk a lot about was Holy Spirit dwelling in us. And like, so God's Spirit, God is with us and in us and that whole thing. Those are kind of the things that I didn't get to spend. I kind of want to drill a little bit down on, but not a whole lot, honestly. It was actually kind of a short sermon. So,
going back to your Plato thing, the early Gnostics were heavily into Platonic ideas, and like they're called. I don't know if Paul. I know they're called out in Hebrews. I don't know if Paul calls them out in any of his letters, like the idea of Gnosticism.
I think I'm not sure.
But the idea, like they even like change their diet because they're like pleasure on earth is like a sin essentially, and go from there. I did enjoy, and I think we probably talked about this when we talked Revelation. But the way Genesis and Revelation literally bookend
it's really
of the Bible and like that connection.
Which again, I think for me confirms the belief that he's going to restore this. I mean, we start in a garden, we end in a garden. Like but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. It was good. I thought everything on there was great. Good.
And the sea. Like I always appreciate like the sea. Like when you bring that up and people need
the sea.
Yeah. Sorry. The ocean. The ocean.
Yeah.
What it really represents typically throughout the Bible, right? Like it is a physical component of life on earth, but to most writers it's chaos. It's a way of representing.
Speaking of the sea, you see that new movie coming out?
Which one?
On October 16th, my birthday. There's a movie. It's got it's like this guy gets swallowed by a fish. I mean, it's not like a Jonah take, but it is.
I had no clue what you're talking about.
It's remarkable. I sent it to my family, and then Zoe texted me back, and she said, "Jonah meets Scuba Steve." Dude, I'm going on my birthday. I don't care. Looks unbelievable.
I have not heard of this.
Oh, it's unbelievable. He gets like this fish eats him. I don't know.
I'm trying to get through the summer movies first. And
sorry. I mean,
no, it's fine. All right.
All right, quick fire questions.
Quick fire questions.
We get questions back and forth.
Yeah.
You want to go? I got some. You want to go first? How you want to do
it? It doesn't matter. You want to go first?
Sure. What's one word that describes heaven?
Beautiful.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you want?
No, I don't know. Okay. Your answer. You want me to keep going? Or you want to go? You want to go back and forth? What do you want to do?
Well, okay, I've got one.
I got 4.
You got 4. I've got a whole bunch.
My Lord.
But I just pick and choose. Okay. All right. So there was a great theologian who once said, ooh, baby, you know what it's worth. Heaven is a place on earth. So what's one glimpse of heaven that you've experienced on earth?
So say that again. Ooh, baby.
Ooh, baby, you know what it's worth. Heaven is a place on earth.
And what was that theologian's name?
I think it was Carlisle was the last name.
Belinda Carlisle? What was the question?
What's one glimpse of heaven you've experienced on earth?
I think anytime I'm in nature, I don't know, that does something to my insides. I heard the story Brian told me yesterday about hiking, and the storm rolled in, and he was just happened to be underneath a tarp, and he saw this. It's just the way he described it was like, oh, it took my breath away. Just remarkable. I think there's moments. Today I was given a young kid at church made me this Mario puppet out of paper, and it's this huge thing, and he spent like time on it.
Yeah.
And he gave it. The fact that he would think of me and make this for me and give it to me, and not even just to do it. That's like, whoa, who does that? Like, those are moments of like kindness and generosity that just take my breath away. So I think moments like that are.
No, that's fair.
I think
that's fair.
What's one thing in creation you're excited to see restored?
See, that's tough because as a biologist, like, I love nature, and I would love to see it more perfect. I guess the more perfectness of what it could be, what's out there versus what it could be. I think, if just like, we've got windows out of our studio here, and so just to see
studio. You mean the church cafe? It's not a studio. Oh my Lord.
We're professionals, right?
We're not professionals.
No, but I mean, just like the greenery of a trees is absolutely beautiful, and I'm not even a plant guy, and just to like be able to see the beauty of flowers and how much better that could be and how much better that could look. I think that's
kind of look like a big bush with your green shirt on.
I do. I tried. Yeah. Let's see. Okay. How about this? What I had a really good question. Favorite bad heaven depiction in a movie, or favorite movie about heaven that.
Oh man, I don't know. I don't know. I think any of the Left Behind stuff. I don't know if they do heaven stuff.
I don't know that they do heaven stuff.
But they do.
But
there's a hint of that.
Yeah.
So some of that stuff's kind of silly, I think. I don't know. I don't know if I've seen heaven in a movie. Have I?
Really? I don't know. I was asking. I could think of several.
Like what?
I think a bad representation is it's an Albert Brooks movie with Meryl Streep called Defending Your Life. It has Rip Torn in it. It's supposed to be a comedy. It's really. I mean, it's not a horrible movie, but it's like a really bad rendition of what heaven is like. I was trying to think, does Heaven Almighty or something like that show heaven at some point?
Maybe. I don't know.
Heaven Almighty.
I don't know. All right, here's my last question. If you had 30 seconds with someone who's terrified of death, after hearing Sunday's sermon, what would you tell them?
Fear not. Like, I mean, you have so much. It's so much better. It's so much better. Like, whatever. Like, we're in our 40s. Like, all the aches and pains that we're starting to get and all that. Like, and that to be gone.
Yeah.
Like, that would just be amazing. To not have to worry about growing old. And I think it's tough. I think we do have attachments here that make death tough for us. But I think having the hope in Jesus, like, really, brings us, gives you something to look forward to. Like, it's just.
Yeah, and the restoring of relationships. I think part of the stress I feel a lot is relational stress, like with humanity versus humanity. So I'll say something and it'll hurt somebody's feelings, or somebody, it'll just be this. And to be at a spot where that's not the case, you know what I mean? Where it's just where it's whole. And I think that's going to be so wild. And part of that is working towards that now and doing the best that I can to seek forgiveness and and try to walk that way, to try to bring heaven to earth where I can. But yeah, that's all the questions I have for you.
Okay, let me give a couple more. Okay. Will there be dogs in heaven? Since you put that as a question in there. What are your thoughts? There's not a right or wrong answer to this.
Well, I don't know. I hope so.
Yeah, I think Will Rogers once said, if dogs don't go to heaven, then I want to be wherever they're at.
Okay, well, I don't disagree with Will Rogers.
All right. Just saying. Coffee in heaven.
Coffee?
Yeah.
I hope not. Coffee's terrible.
Oh, come on.
It's trash.
What do you want? Mountain Dews or Mountain Dew in heaven?
Mountain Dew's in heaven. Oh, Mountain Dew is heaven. Yeah, that's where I experience heaven.
There you go. All right. Clouds or mountains? Last question.
What?
Clouds or mountains?
What does that mean?
Pick
what?
Pick one. Clouds
what
or
about
mountains? Whatever.
Mountains, I guess.
All right.
Is that like a joke? Or?
No, it's just a question.
That's
Clouds
a
or
dumb
mountains?
question. What
No,
question is
it's a
that?
quick question. We ended on the fastest question possible. You just made it the longest question ever, though.
Quick question.
Based
Red
off
or
of
blue?
Blue.
Okay, who knows? Okay.
Just whatever.
All All right, we always finish our time together with a question of the week for our wonderful people that watch. And this week's question is, if your coworkers spent 1 week around you, what glimpses of heaven would they get? Grace, hope, forgiveness, joy, compassion, generosity, or would they assume heaven is just another angry place?
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
So,
okay, well, we made it another week here. Have a good trip with your kids.
Next week you're speaking.
I am speaking next week. Yeah, we're doing.
Why did Jesus have to die?
Why did Jesus have to die and be resurrected? Was the question.
Yeah, that's gonna be a good one.
Yeah,
I had a question today after service from a friend who said, "Why is it taking him so long to come back?"
I think you answered that.
I tried.
This podcast.
I tried, but it was a good question. Though.
It is a good question to ask. I agree.
So, but also people that are watching online, or if you want to keep engaged, the Daily Devo using the app. That's kind of one way to stay engaged.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, enjoy your trip, and we'll talk next week.
Keep asking good questions.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.